Welcome back. Now let's talk more about deeply technically how does a pipeline work. We are going to be using for this case GitHub Actions, but actually there are a lot of ways we can do CI/CD. Like for example, we can use GitLab Actions that are quite the same, but for GitLab instead of for GitHub, we can actually use another software more specific for CI/CD. Like for example, Jenkins. We can use well, there are multiples. One of them, there was even one called I don't remember the name. Was for Kubernetes. Tecton. We can use Tecton, for example, for Kubernetes, and well, we have a bunches of services out there to CI/CD. Many even companies are creating their own systems to do this. But well, let's focus on GitHub Actions because nowadays is one of those that are getting very deeply into the industry. Many companies are asking about knowing how to use GitHub Action, and as is as similar as GitLab Action as it could be, it will be very easy to jump from this to another. So this probably will be one of the best points to start with. Also, it doesn't require any kind of installation or any kind of first steps, so it's the easiest to start with. It's the Python of the pipelines, let's say. All right. So when you want to start learning something new, the first thing that for this and for everything that anyone should do is actually go to the official documentation, and that's what we have here. Official documentation for GitHub Actions. We have here a brief introduction. I'm not gonna read because we already been talking about this in previous videos. And here we have the steps about how to create this. So how does it work? GitHub is always looking for its internal folder that is called .github, and then /workflows, where we're gonna be storing their ORAWL files for our pipelines. We can have multiple files there, and GitHub will run them all, depending on some conditions that we will be seeing later. But first of all, let's do that. I have already created in advance a repository. Yeah, this is my GitHub, and I have created, let's check, where is this? Test actions over here. I just created this. It's empty, doesn't have anything. You only have this test file that I just created for testing purposes. I don't want to see here an empty repository. So let's go to the code of this. Well, first of all, yes, let's create these folders that we're asking to do. So here in Git, I have my Visual Studio Code. This is the same file that we saw before. First of all, I'm gonna start creating this folder, GitHub, and then instead of GitHub, we saw that we need this another directory, workflows. That is where actually GitHub is gonna be looking for this. Another one, workflows. All right, what next? We're asked to have a file, the extension YAML or YAML, at the end is a YAML file, with our definition. So let's create this, for example, the same name. I like it. So here I want to create it. All right. So you have it. Well, I have this in red. All right, because I have the extension for GitHub Actions. I deeply recommend it. It will help us to troubleshoot or to debug even if we have some kind of syntax error, and will save us a lot of head pain later. Okay, for a start, I'm gonna copy paste this. We'll be explaining what is actually doing, because this is the first steps that we have here on the official documentation. We're gonna do it together. We create the folder, we create the file, and now we're gonna add the content. All right, so what can we see here? We see the jobs. That is actually what we were talking in the beginning, that there are a group of things that we can be doing, and inside of the jobs, we have some steps. Those steps are steps to be done for those jobs. In this example, it's only using one job with multiple steps, but we can have, for example, one job with only one step, or have even multiple jobs with multiple steps. This receives a name. This also is using a name to show up, and then it's doing some kind of things. Here we can see this on tag. What does it mean on? All right, this on means when is gonna be using this pipeline. On some event, you're gonna be running my jobs. In this case, on push. Every time we do a push to the repository, this is gonna be running these jobs with these steps. What happens if we don't do a push? If we do, for example, a pull request, or we just create a comment on something, it will not action, it will not do anything. How can we see which action we can use? All right, so for that, Again, we have the official documentation. Here, inside of using workflows, events that trigger workflows, we will see a list of all the events that we can be using. We are using push, that we can read in here, runs your workflow when you push a commit or tag, or when you create a repository for a template. If we want to do for pull request, we can use pull request, and we can see here what it's doing. We can see for multiple things. So once we have here the push done, in this case, we're going to be pushing the code to see that it's working. It's going to run this job with these steps. What are these things that we are watching here? Okay, these are variables. GitHubs have some internal variables that we can also see in the official documentation that include some default values. Like for example, having the event name, having the OS of the runner, having the GitHub reference, and what is this runner OS? Alright, so this is running inside of a runner. This is like a little container that is actually a computational thing where our job is going to be running. It's going to be deploying, it's going to be the code. It needs some computational power to do all these things because we're going to be doing things technically. So we need something doing there. How we do define this? Okay, so inside of every job, we have runs on that will specify which type of machine we want to be running this. So we're going to run this in an Ubuntu latest version. We can use GitHub self-hosted run that actually will be in our own. We have to maintain, or the GitHub hosted runners. That is gonna be the ones that GitHub is actually offering. The ones for free, we can use it, no problems at all. So we are using those, are the easiest to use. It doesn't require any kind of documentation, doesn't require any kind of anything at all. As we see, we just create our folders in our code, our repository, we just add this YAML with these pipelines, and that's everything. GitHub will do the rest of the things. Okay, and how can we run this actually? So we just need to push this. We're gonna push these changes, and automatically it will be run. Why? Because as we see here, it's gonna be run on every push event that arrives to the repository. So now it's not gonna do anything. If we, before having this, we push any kind of code, it's not gonna do anything because the pipeline is not in the repository. But once the pipeline is in the repository, it's gonna be running. So let's check. We're adding everything. Git commit, adding my first pipeline, and git push. We have pushed the changes, and now if we are going to actions, we are gonna see our action triggering. Yay! It's exactly what we wanted. And we see here Joaquin is testing out GitHub Actions. Why we see this? Because if we come back here to the run name, it's exactly what is showing. It's using this variable and then this string, this fixed string. If, for example, my workmate Matt is downloading this code and is doing some modifications in the code, and again he pushed something, in that case GitHub actor will be another one because it's Matt the one who is pushing this this version. So here the pipeline will be Matt is testing our GitHub actions. Here in the workflows, we can see all the workflows that we have. This is the workflows name that we have here. All right. One is the name itself, and then it's the run name. The name is the one that appears on workflows, and the run name is the one that will appear in all workflows that have been running. So if we click on it, we will see our job, explore GitHub Actions. See, it's the only job that we have. And if we open it, we will see all the steps, Can you see here? It's exactly what we've been writing before in the pipeline. It's exactly the same. We have, for example, one steps here called list files in the repository. Let's check it out. List files in the repository. We only have this test because actually for steps, you can run something or you can give it a name, use another kind of pipeline that is already integrated somewhere, or for example, give it a name and run something like this in this case. In this case, we are giving it a name, or we just running this ls command. How you like the execution? And stay tuned because in the next video we will be checking how to add variables and how to add secrets so we can parameterize even more our pipelines.